We're going to talk some K-State women's hoops here this evening, and we've got a very special guest here with us to do so. Missy Heidrick, former K-State women's basketball guard and current college basketball analyst. Missy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I feel like we'd have a much different conversation had the Midi Cats not done what they did yesterday. I want to get that stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
A 30-point loss at Stillwater, how much is just stuff like this happens, moves on to the next, sometimes teams get hot, and how much is we need to have a serious conversation about things?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of both, because you have a team that is still making the adjustments of having to play without an All-American center and not having Ioka Lee available. And that is a big gap, and that's a big difference. They managed that and have done that against some quality teams going into the game that they were on the road yesterday. But I always say it is incredibly difficult to win on the road in the Big 12, I mean, in men's or women's college basketball. So to be able to do that and to go into Stillwater, which has been a tough place to play. TCU found that out a couple weeks ago. That was one of their losses as well. So I think a couple of the glaring things for me was just maybe the defensive effort. This team has hung their hat on their defense all year long. It wasn't necessarily there, probably not as cohesive as they need to be. So you got to have a little bit of a gut check, and you have to understand, you know, you gave up, I think it was double-digit threes that Oklahoma State knocks down. Those are some things of some mistakes that were made, and those are correctable, but the road continues to get tough, and it always is in the Big 12.
Yeah, and you bring up Yoki. I want to circle back to that. We've talked a lot about having her, not having her this season. All of that aside and her greatness aside, do you feel like this is maybe the most Yoki independent team that K-State has had in the whole time that she's been there? Obviously, you can't replace her, but they found ways to get it done without her as well.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think a big piece of that is the depth at the guard play, which has been more than what the K-State coaching staff has had at their disposal in years past. And you've also found other ways for them to be able to score the basketball and not be so dominant, but they play differently when she's there than when she's not. What we've seen over the course of the last 4 games, they play faster, you're going to shoot more threes, more defensive intensity, probably full court, you're going to take some chances. When you don't have rim protection and you don't have a really big post presence, it changes how you have to play. And I think it was very much a rock fight in that TCU game without her on the inside. They really gutted that one out, and you win by 9. You hold TCU to 50 points, but then you go on the road and you give up 80 plus. So it is always going to be riding that wave when you don't have that inside presence, and they don't have her. Hopefully she'll be back in a few weeks, and I know that's the goal.
You mentioned the rim protection. You see 61 points in a game, all-time leading scorer. People forget she was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year as a sophomore.
That too.
What does she bring on defense that maybe K-State has to switch now that she's not in the lineup?
Well, she changes how people attack you. Now all of a sudden, when you don't have 6'6" on the back line, penetration opens up. People get to the rim easier.
People are scared to go inside when she's on the court.
And I see it all the time. You see it in the men's game. You see it in the women's game. When you've got rim protection, we've got people that can block shots. Now all of a sudden, how other players attack you is completely different than when they're not in the game. And so I think she also cleans up a lot of messes. So let's say somebody takes a chance, they get beat out front, or they miss a block out. She's the one there to get the rebound, maybe to get a block shot, to be in help. She's just incredibly talented on both ends. So when you take that out, you got to make the adjustments, and you're looking for other people to step up.
Yeah, and another player I want to make sure we talk about real quickly is Serena Sundell. I mean, you could go back to her performance in that game on Wednesday night, and it's just, you know, she was the offense, right? I mean, what do you see from her ability to score maybe when Ioka Lee is not doing the scoring, and also her ability to create for the people?
Well, she carried Kansas State against TCU, there's no doubt. I think, and I've always said, I think she's one of the most complete and versatile guards in the Big 12, and obviously she's put herself in the national conversation as well as one of the top point guards in the nation. She just has great vision. I love cool, calm, and collected ball handlers. That's exactly what she is. And her size is a huge advantage to her. She's 6'1". And so as we saw against TCU, she's posting people up. She's able to score on the low block. She can rebound. She can get to the rim. She's just a very versatile player. And that doesn't happen very often. So I think her ability to be able to create for herself and for her teammates. I mean, she just moved in top 10 in the Big 12 on the career assist chart this past weekend. That doesn't happen very often for a kid like that who's that talented in multiple ways.
And I think my favorite part is after the TCU win, she brought up just 3 shots against KU, then took over 20 against TCU.
Doing it when she has to.
No one on the team cared because they care about winning.
You got
Missy,
it.
that's all the time we have. Thank you so much.